thank you very much to the Colea Culture Society team for putting this inspiring show together. Thank you also to the funders who are Heritage Canada. We also have Van City and Shaw Spotlight. We also thank the community kitchen here at the Victoria Public Market. So my name is Jimena and I am from Colombia. I'm going to be your host today. And I'm extremely grateful to have been part of this initiative where we're going to be actually fighting racism one recipe at a time. And this concept of actually discovering culinary traditions from around the world, depending on our guest chef, but also discovering their immigration history and, sharing with them anecdotes, hurdles, challenges and successes that they've come across. So today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Natalie. She is from St Lucia and she's also owner of a local restaurant here in Victoria.
Well, my name is Natalie Justin. I'm the owner, operator, and cook of Stir It Up. It's just on Yates, 760 Yates. Check it out.
Stir It Up. So
the oxtail is bomb, so I hear.
Yeah, there you go. And so tell us a little bit about the dish that we're going to be cooking today.
Okay, the dish we're cooking today is saltfish and bake with some plantain and cucumber on the side. It's a classic Caribbean breakfast, and it's a breakfast that I grew up with every weekend in my home.
Every weekend in your home.
Every weekend.
It's got a lot of cultural and, connotation for you.
It's quite significant.
It's quite significant.
Yeah, we sat around the table and ate and had breakfast Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start then. Let's get cracking.
First, we're going to start with oil.
Okay.
And the oil will heat up while we get things prepared. It's going to take some time.
Lovely.
You can also prepare this particular meal in the oven if you like.
Okay, so we have 3 pans.
3 pans.
On the go.
Yeah.
And 3 of them are going to be...
This is for the fried bake or fried dumpling, which is, I think almost every culture has some sort of fried bread or... Yeah. So I think everybody shares a particular link when it comes to flour and bread and breaking bread and all those other things. This one is going to be for the saltfish, and this one is going to be for the plantain. Or plantain, depending on where you're from.
Okay, so the 3 pots have, still have a good amount of oil.
Probably maybe less than half a cup.
Yeah, less than half a cup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is for the bake, the fried dumpling. It's pretty simple, although it looks complicated. You need a little bit of salt. As you know, we like to just use our fingers and our taste buds and our sense of smell as opposed to measurements. So everything is to taste, whatever you like. So I'm just going to demonstrate how to put the dough together. Just a small one. Some flour. Got a little bit of salt in there. Got some yeast and sugar. You can use the rapid rise yeast if you like. It doesn't take too long. We're just going to form a dough ball so you guys can see.
So, okay.
So right now we're just folding the dough in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit dry. Add a little bit more water. It's messy, but it's fun, especially when you're doing this with little kids.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's better to add water as
depending on the consistency that you would like. Yeah.
Okay. And so the question is, how do you know it's ready?
You know it's ready because it has the consistency of your earlobe. Okay. So if you want to touch your earlobe and touch the dough and tell me if it feels similar.
Got it.
You want to touch the dough?
Okay.
Similar?
And it's not sticking.
It's not sticking. That's why there's lots of flour. But we also have to let this rest. So we're just going to put this to the side. After your dough has rested, this is what it looks like. A little bit sticking out, of course. Ugh.
Nice. So this dough has been resting for how long?
This dough's been resting for about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, but you can do it overnight, however you like. You can put it in the fridge overnight, or you can leave it on the counter. But I just want it to rest, and as you can see, it's a little bit more sticky. And when we turn it into the dough balls, we're going to add more flour. Okay.
Is there a difference whether you put it in the fridge or leave it outside on the counter?
Not really. It's just a little bit colder in the fridge.
Okay.
Yeah. So while the dough is resting, we are going to prep for our saltfish. And what we need to do is we need to cut up some onion and garlic, a couple red peppers, yellow peppers. You can use as much onion, as much garlic as you like. I like a lot of garlic, personally.
Me too.
Yeah. Keeps the vampires away. So, also some spring onion that we're going to use as a garnish. So, you can give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right.
So how would you like me to cut the onions and the garlic? Maybe
We're going to dice them fine.
Dice them fine.
Yeah. Real life, what do you call those things? Infomercials? Late at night, just chopping it up. Tired.
Okay. Is that fine enough?
Yep. And we're going to just drop it in here.
Okay. Next,
We're going to do the peppers. Yep.
you keep the inside, right?
I like to.
So,
Yep.
like
You
this.
cut it that way as well. Those are quite small, so that's fine.
Okay. So, cut the pepper in half and then slice it.
Yes. To whatever length or texture you want, it's all up to the individual. Today you are a master chef.
Done. It gives you some practice. I don't cook a lot back home. So, all right.
Next
Next.
one, tomatoes.
Tomato. Okay, so 1 tomato.
1 tomato. There you go.
And
Yep, turn it that way. Exactly. See, what am I doing here? You got it covered.
okay, how's that oil? It's probably very, very hot right now.
Probably very, very hot. Okay, so we also want to test to see how hot it is. Just took a little piece of the dough. I'm gonna put it in the oil. It's sizzling. It's floating to the top. It's gonna be brown in 1 second. That means that it is ready.
So this dish reminds you of your childhood
Very much so.
back home.
In every vacation home to Toronto. So yeah. You still have breakfast around the table no matter how old we are?
So it's a traditional
It is a tradition,
sort of
yes.
breakfast meal. You wouldn't think for breakfast, a nice piece of fish over here, but
Maybe not here, but definitely on the islands where you have access to it.
I know. In Colombia, also in the Caribbean coast and Pacific coast, fish is
Yeah.
definitely in the menu for breakfast.
So I'm making dough balls. I have 4 here. I'm gonna fold the dough into itself and roll it into a ball.
So we're ready to start frying the bread.
Yes.
Lovely.
But we gotta keep an eye on them because they do fry quickly.
Okay, so over here I just grated the cucumber,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna do the spring onions now.
Perfect.
And I think that's
before
it.
we do that though, sorry to interrupt you, we're gonna start adding
Oh, okay.
this onion so it can caramelize. We don't need to put all of it in. If you want to throw some of the garlic in here for me, please.
Yes.
Fine.
Some of it or all of it?
Some of it for now. It'll work.
There we go. Great. So we got garlic, onion.
We're just gonna wait for this to soften up, caramelize a little bit.
Should I flip them up?
We need to flip them.
I'm not quite sure whether we do.
Yes,
Yes.
do. So flip them, and they're nice and golden brown on one side.
Lovely.
Okay, we'll put this over here.
Perfect.
Okay.
So the onions are caramelizing nicely.
Onions are caramelizing. I'm breaking up the salt cod.
So when you say you boil them 4 times. So
Yes.
you kind of put them in water, let them boil maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes,
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yes.
Then change the water, put
Yes.
some
And
new
then start
water in, let it boil for another 20 minutes.
Yes.
And you have to do that 4 times.
You can do it as many times as you like, depending on the consistency that you want this to be. Do you want to try it? So you want it to be tender. You want it to be able to break apart.
So it's basically already cooked. when you
Yes.
prepare
It's just preserved in the salt.
it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to just throw this in for me,
Sure.
please?
Okay. So you don't even add salt to this dish?
No, you don't really need to. You can if you like, but my preference is not to because it's already
The
pretty
fish is already
salty.
salty enough.
So we're just going to turn these on their sides so they're nice and golden brown on each side.
Beautiful.
Yes. We're going to let that cook. Is that all mixed up?
Yep.
Okay. At some point, we're going to add our tomato and our peppers, but not just yet. Let's give this a try. Open it up.
So the fact that it's conserved with salt, it has a longer life.
Yes. Okay. Well, the salt is definitely a preservative.
So you don't have to freeze it or anything.
You don't have to freeze it. You can leave it in your fridge if you like. It's pretty tough with all the salt. If you don't mind my hands, here you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Very
That's
tough and extremely salty.
Very salty, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna move this out of the way and we're gonna start prepping the plantain. Okay? So while we're prepping other things, it's important to make sure we don't forget about what's actually being cooked. Otherwise, we become a fire hazard. Just want to break this up a little bit more.
So the bread, we're going to be also frying it on the sides around,
Yes.
top and bottom.
Yep. Correct.
So we have to make sure that we
turn them.
turn them. Yeah.
Yeah. And poke a hole in the top to release some of the hot air and let the dough cook inside. At this point, we can also turn down some of the heat.
Perfect. Right. And so the plantain,
Yes.
how do we go about
Well,
plantain?
it depends on how you like it. Some people like it super sweet and soft and mushy, and I prefer it this way. It's releasing all the sugars like this. I like it brown, looks almost moldy. That's when the stores throw it out. They should keep it. Some people like it green and a little bit harder. You can fry this, but also you can add some salt to it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Which one are we going for? The green one? Both?
We're gonna go for the green one because nowadays, because of convenience, we can get plantain out of the skin already in a
Should I put it
in
lower?
a bag. Imagine that.
Oh,
So
okay.
voila. All right.
Should I move the buns?
Yep, we can move those.
Nice.
And are we putting them on a plate? Okay. So, because it wasn't oil, we want to sop up some of the oil. We're gonna put just on a paper towel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a little stir.
Yes, please.
At what point do we put the tomatoes and the peppers?
We can put them in now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just a good mix. Stir it up
Just
and
give it a
just
good
let them
mix.
cook.
Yes.
It smells really good. So do we let the pot open or do we cover?
You can leave it open.
Right. I'm gonna
If
go
we're doing a
and-
bit of a slow cook, then we can put a lid on it and let it simmer.
I'm just gonna turn the buns. Make sure that they are.
Yep, thank you.
Not yet.
Okay, so I find green plantain a lot more difficult to cut. So excuse my,
Yes, they are.
they are a little bit more it's not as pretty, but neither are these. So maybe you can take these apart so that we can pick them in the oil.
Perfect. Should I throw them in the oil already?
Yes, the oil is hot.
Watch out.
Let's save our hands. These cook pretty fast as well, especially when the heat is so high. Also, because these are frozen, it's mixing with the water a little bit, so.
These ones were frozen, so that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a little bit more room. We also want these to be golden brown as well.
Okay, perfect. So it's done.
So the bakes are ready. You want to try one?
Ooh,
We're gonna wait.
good, yes.
It's really
Love
hot.
to.
Okay.
So how do you know they are cooked? Fully cooked?
You know they're fully cooked when you poke them and your fork comes out clean.
Oh, okay. Like when you do bakery.
Yes.
Perfect.
And so we don't want it to be oily, so we're just going to rest it on a paper towel or a cloth, something of that nature. Okay. That one's not quite done.
So Natalie, who taught you to cook?
Who taught me to cook?
Or did you just learn?
I just learned,
Watching
but
your-
also being in the kitchen with my parents a lot. You know, it wasn't the best teenage help, so I had to spend a lot of time in the kitchen instead of being allowed to go out. And my parents are party people, so, you know, I was the type of kid that liked to stay up late and watch everybody and eat all the food.
So usually it would have been your mom or your dad cooking back home?
Both my parents cook. They're both fantastic cooks. So we're going to want to just put that in there and see if we can find another bowl somewhere.
Great.
Yeah.
So now the fish is in a, I would say, medium-high heat, right?
Yes. And what we want is we want all the flavors to melt together, and we want the garlic and the onion to be sweet. We want the tomato to be tart and the peppers to be a little bit tangy.
So we want the tomatoes to be mushy?
A little bit mushy. It depends on what people like. Some people like a different type of consistency. I like them all blended together.
And this is pretty much it for the fish now. It's just letting it.
Yeah, we can even turn down the temperature a little bit. Perfect. So over here, we have just a little bit of grated cucumber. I like to use this as a garnish or eat it by itself. Again, just to taste. You can add as much salt as you like, but it really doesn't need a lot. Just a pinch of salt.
So what is the fish that we are preparing? What sort of fish is it?
Salt cod.
Is that the major fish used in St Lucia?
No, there are all kinds of, well, for this particular dish, yes. You could also use salmon or tuna, but I think this one is the best. That's what I grew up with. There are all kinds of fish in St. Lucia, so you can have a variety of fish for breakfast, whatever you like, however you like it. So,
is that the most popular one, maybe? Or is there a most popular?
I don't think there's a most popular one. I think it all depends on what people like.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have some vinegar. I just added a pinch of salt. We're going to add half a tablespoon of vinegar, if that much. Put that in there. Brightens up the color a little bit. We're going to squeeze a little bit of lime in there, if I can get it in. And we're going to mix it.
And so that's a little bit of a decoration on the side.
Yeah, just a little prettiness. Let's go along with the food. Little lipstick.
Good. Okay.
So, I think our plantain is almost ready, but I think we can also start plating the other food because voila, we are almost finished. I should say the voila for the end, right? Okay, almost voila?
Almost.
Almost voila.
Good. Okay, so should I prepare a little bit of cloth to get this out?
Yes, please.
So, do you eat a lot of frying? You do a lot of fry-ups, like, plantain in oil, and then the fish in oil, and
No. Just for
in
this
St Lucia, or only just this dish?
Just this particular dish, but
Okay.
we have barbecues, we have ovens, you can boil it. Plenty of ways to do it. But this particular dish, I don't know how the baked saltfish would taste, to be quite honest. Baked plantain is pretty good. Baked bakes is pretty good.
Yeah, in Colombia we bake it also, but
Yeah.
we do tend to fry it more than.
Well, frying is faster, a little bit more economical, a little bit more tasty, a little bit more heart attacky.
Okay, so where are we at?
We are going to try this out. I've just turned off the heat. You can sit in here and simmer a little bit. So I've just cut open the bake, putting a little bit of the saltfish in there. I'm going to put a little bit of the garnish. Here you go.
Wow, it's a lovely presentation. So this is it.
This is it. Saltfish and bake with plantain and cucumber chutney.
Lovely. Okay, well, bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Voila. Voila.
Okay, so after having made this lovely dish with Natalie, we're going to have a seat and we're going to talk about your immigration history to Canada.
Okay. Lovely. Looking forward to
Stay tuned. Okay, so welcome again to an interview now with Natalie from St Lucia. And let's talk about your restaurant, Stir It Up.
Okay.
And I believe you have this painting over there
Yes.
in the restaurant. And do you want to talk to us about the painting?
Actually, this painting was a gift from a very good friend. He's from Trinidad. His name is Zoo Painter, and he makes the most amazing art. And one day he came to the shop and he took a picture, and then 2 days later he came back with this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Feeling pretty blessed. It's an awesome picture. Not sure it's quite accurate, but I can live with it.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. So how long have you had your restaurant for?
I've had my restaurant for about 16 years.
16.
16 years.
That's a long time.
Yes.
So what inspired you to open a restaurant and,
Well, when I first moved here, I was 6 months pregnant and craving Caribbean food. I didn't know where to get it. I was very upset. And because I'm stubborn and determined, I decided I should open up my own restaurant just so I could eat while I was pregnant.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically you pretty much opened it when you arrived to Canada.
Almost. I started doing little things. I used to get patties sent over from Toronto, and I get them in the mail, and then I'll sell them to people. It was called Natty's Patties. So kind of like Girl Guide cookies, but Jamaican patties instead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so these beverages are also from the St. Lucia, and you sell them at your restaurant?
Yes. Well, they're not from St. Lucia, but every Caribbean or West Indian person knows the flavors. It's ginger beer, pineapple, and cola champagne. You can get them under any label, but this particular brand is easy to find here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they go very well with
They
the dish?
They do. Depending on if you want something spicy or mild. Yeah.
So let's talk about your childhood. How did it went, and what memories do you have around cooking in your childhood?
Well, memories. Lots of time spent in the kitchen with my sisters, with my mom and my dad. They love to have a good party, so there's always food around. I like to stay up to eat the food. And also, I wasn't the best behaved, so had to stay in the kitchen so that I could mind my manners. So it all worked out to the greater good.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you come from a very big family. You're eight kids.
Yes, I'm one of 8.
Okay. That's pretty much the norm in St Lucia, is big families, or at least in those days.
I think probably in those days. We didn't all grow up together because I'm the middle child, so people had already come and gone before me. So I didn't get to experience all of them in the house. But I think big families at that time was a pretty big deal. Yeah. My dad is one of 13, and his brothers and sisters came to Canada and the US as well. So it worked out.
So how did you decide to immigrate to Canada? What made you?
It wasn't by choice. I came with my parents when I was 5, and we moved to Toronto. And I grew up in Toronto and moved here about 21 years ago.
Oh, okay. So most of your childhood was in Toronto?
Most of my childhood, from about 5 to 28. Can I say I was a child then? Okay, 5 to 28 was spent in Toronto. And afterwards, we moved here.
So do you remember how did the change, how were you able to cope with the transition? How was that transition for you?
I thought the snow was lovely at first. I think we arrived December 1979. I think it was December. And I remember it being very, very cold. And that was not my favorite part. I thought it was pretty, but I really didn't want any parts of it. Yeah. Still don't. That's why I moved to Victoria, and it's supposed to snow this weekend.
It is.
Yes. Not a good thing.
So your parents are still in Toronto?
Yeah, my parents and most of my siblings are in Toronto.
Okay. So what prompted you to move to Victoria?
I was working for City TV, and they were opening up their sister station out here, and I came out here to work.
Okay. And at that time, you were single?
No.
You had already married?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was a family move?
Yes, it was a family move. We moved with our 4-year-old and my belly.
Okay, you were pregnant?
Yes.
Okay. How did the transition to Victoria happen?
Well, that was also a bit of a culture shock for me. When we first got here, 7-Eleven closed at 11. So
actually 7 to 11.
Yeah, that was a bit concerning to me. I was like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? So I think it was just a little bit hard to just adapt to being in a new place overall. So
so you got here with a job offer.
Yes.
And little by little, you started considering to open your own restaurant and be your own boss.
Yeah, I think it's something that I always wanted to do. I just didn't know exactly how to put it together at that time.
Okay. Yeah. What sort of support did you find in your community, maybe, to start up your own restaurant, or did you reach out to other?
I had a lot of support. I had 2 great mentors, Mikan Hayes and Judy. Is one of my favorite people. And they were very kind, and they brought me along, taught me a lot, and they become great friends now.
Awesome. So what would you say about Victoria today, about your circle of friends and the community that you've built around your restaurant? How do you experience that, and how do you build on that?
Well, because I have a Caribbean restaurant, I'm introduced to a lot of people who either went on vacation somewhere and want to try the food again, or people who are directly from the West Indies. And so I've met a lot of people that I never would have if I did not open up the restaurant. So that's been great. I've been fortunate enough to make many good acquaintances and try to build a community in Victoria for Caribbean people. We also do parties around the city and plan events. So that's also opened up my horizons and forced me to do something a little bit out of the box. So I've enjoyed it.
So because I guess also, having a restaurant comes also all this community that, Caribbean community. They probably come to see you because you provide them with some specialty foods. How big is the Caribbean community in Victoria?
It's a small community, but I think I'd like to say tight-knit, if not everybody knows each other. So that's been a great thing because our kids are growing up here and it's good for them to see each other and know that there's some likeness and comfortability here for them.
Okay. Yeah. And so how are your kids, how have your kids adapted to the Canadian culture, and how do you live both of your cultures really at home? Because I believe you probably want to, want to teach them some of your root culture.
Yes.
But you also are probably taking in some Canadian elements of it. So how do you live your culture right now with your kids?
Well, my kids were born here, so as far as them knowing anything other than being Canadian, they really don't. They have a heavy influence of Caribbean culture because of myself and their dad and some of the people around them. They also speak French because we're from St Lucia, and I think that has been a very important part of our culture that we were able to teach them.
So is it important for you to take the kids back home to St Lucia for holidays to speak the native tongue, the native language, and have them also, cultivate, the pride in having two cultures? Really.
Yeah, I would really love for that to happen. The closest we get as a family to St. Lucia is Toronto. But, there's a wealth of Caribbean people there from all over the West Indies. So it works out. It's pretty diverse.
Okay. And so do your kids get involved in the kitchen as much as you do? Do they share the passion for cooking?
Sometimes, if they're hungry. If they're hungry enough, they'll do it. Otherwise, I'm the one that's cooking. But they do help out at the shop quite often.
Okay. And I guess you also get to probably mix and match and maybe adapt some of the dishes, the traditional dishes that you used to cook back home or your parents used to cook when you were a child. And you kind of adapt them to the Canadian sort of ingredients available.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah.
You adapt to whatever it is, whether it's food or music or the culture. You can jump right in and add your own spice, but sometimes you don't always have all the ingredients.
Do you have an anecdote that you would like to share with us? Maybe something funny, and then we can talk about maybe something more challenging, that had happened to you in your history of immigration to Canada.
Let's see. I think my first summer in Toronto, I think I was in kindergarten. And I remember these girls talking about having a sunburn. I was like, a sunburn? What's a sunburn? I was like, I have that same sunburn at home, thinking sundress. Sunburn. So needless to say, that was first experience of getting a crazy look. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. That's quite funny. So how about an anecdote of something a bit challenging that you had to face during your integration and immigration?
I think for me, the most difficult part was not being able to speak patois at home and at school. I did go to a French school, but it wasn't the same kind of French. So initially it was very isolating because my parents wanted me to integrate and speak English all the time. So I had to practice my English at home. So I couldn't speak Creole to them, and I couldn't speak patois at school because nobody understood. So that, was kind of an interesting hurdle to get over.
But you do speak your native tongue to the kids right now?
Just the curse words.
Oh, So, but they understand.
That's all I remember. That's all I remember. It's not on purpose, I swear. I don't curse at them. But yeah. But we all know the curse words. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the easiest ones. Yeah.
That's funny. So, so how many times do you go back to St Lucia? Do you still have roots, a family there? And do you still make that connection often with the kids?
I have a lot of family there. However, the first time that I went back in about 20 years was about a year and a half ago. So it was interesting to see the change and to see all my little cousins all grown up and married and having a life. So, yeah.
So when you went back, did you identify yourself to the culture and to the mentality, or did you think that maybe you had evolved in a different way, or?
No, it felt like home. It felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Although it was COVID, it was still home, yeah, because we had COVID here too. Yeah.
So what are the aspects of the culture back home that you connect with the most, that you miss the most?
The sunshine, the beach, the fruits, the people, the music, the smells, the taste, the water, all of it. All of it. Yeah.
Okay, and so if you feel so connected to your home country, have you considered going back home at all?
Yes, I have. Every Monday when I have to get up and go to work, I ask myself, are you sure this is what you want to do this week? So, yes.
So it's probably a matter of time before you actually make a move?
I think at some point I'll make a change, yes.
Yeah. Probably when the kids are out of the house,
They're
maybe.
almost there.
That will, help.
Yeah, they're almost there.
Okay. So how about your partner? Is he also from the Caribbean?
No partner.
Oh, no partner.
No partner at the moment.
Well, there you
no
go.
No partner available.
Single.
Right now. I didn't say single. I just said. No, I'm just kidding. Their dad is from Toronto, but his mom was born in St. Kitts, and his dad is from Suriname. So, and Toronto has a very heavy Caribbean influence. Can't get away from it. So everybody's just mix and match. Yeah.
Okay. So how does the different cultures how do the different cultures with Canadian and you being from the Caribbean, how did that mix went? Like how did you feel? Did it have some challenges? Did it come with some rewards in the sense that you maybe were able to exchange your culture with your partner, your ex-partner? How did you live through that?
I mean, he identifies as Caribbean. Okay. He grew up in a Caribbean household, so the cultures weren't that different at all. And again, being from Toronto, everyone is one form of Caribbean or the other. We all adopt each other's accents. We all lie and say we're from somebody else's island, depending on who we're talking to. So, I identify just as much as Caribbean as Canadian. So I've been here and I'm happy for both. Although I would like my St. Lucian passport.
Your what? Sorry?
St. Lucian passport. I would like my passport.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you like to share, with us something in particular that, in maybe your childhood memory or something that, memory when you arrived to Victoria, something or a message with our audience?
Haven't I shared enough? No, I'm just kidding. Just a little bit more. Myself.
How about when you moved to Victoria? Any feelings, any memory that you would like to share?
My first experience when I got off the plane was, it smells so clean here. this is awesome. It smells clean. I can see the trees.
That was not the case in Toronto.
It's smoggy there. Smoggy. So the buildings are short. I'm short, so it all works out. I felt we had a lot in common, myself and Victoria. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to leave Victoria, it would definitely be to go back to St Lucia, not to Toronto.
No definites. No definites. I'm pretty open. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for joining us from home. And I would like to take a moment again to thank the Kulea Culture Society team for putting together this inspiring event. And, that allows us to really dig into stories, inspiring stories. And thank you very much to our funders also, Van City, Heritage Canada, Shaw Spotlight. Thank you very much to them. You are with us. And also the community kitchen here at the Victoria Market. So, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And
Much
we will see
appreciated.
you. And so, stay tuned with us for next time.